All right, welcome into Sinister's Kingdom, fellow Deathbats and Lady Deathbats, and fellow gamers and lady gamers. I want to talk a little bit about what's going on with this channel and why I decided to do those shorts with me singing. There has been a lot of inspiration going on in the area of music for me and also in art in general. In case you haven't been paying attention, I have been communicating with people on X who, follow me also, and have been lifting me up. On top of it, I met other people in other bands that really have been lifting me up. The whole thing has really been an eye opener for me, and I feel like for the past most of my life actually, I've been missing out on that area of my life, and I feel like I could really thrive in that point, at that part of my life, and that's what's going on right now. I'm seeing myself thrive. I'm seeing things go incredibly good for me, and I'm seeing things I'm doing being noticed by people that I have just been pleased, to say the least, are noticing it. There are a few artists I can name off the top of my head that I really am adoring right now, and just happy they noticed what I'm doing. These couple artists are Mixie from Stitched Up Heart themselves, Craig Mabbitt from Escape to Fate, who also does Dead Rabbits right now. Dead Rabbits is really good. It's a heavier version of Escape to Fate. That's why I got into them, but I really liked Escape to Fate back then. Zachy Vengeance from Avenged Sevenfold, and I'm sure the rest of Avenged Sevenfold noticed what I'm doing. Good Charlotte, Benji Madden has been, no, Joe Madden has been noticing what I'm doing. I'm sure Benji does too. Just a whole bunch of artists I grew up listening to or listening to right now. I know I Set to Kill, I took pictures with them. Lyrics Noel, I took pictures with Lyric Noel herself. I just been having a blast in that one particular concert, that Stitched Up concert I really wanted to go to. I went to, and I had a completely great time with it, and I had a blast, and I met a bunch of people. With that said, I want to get into a story about how I ended up here again and why I felt like music is where I want to be, or art is where I want to be. And so it all started a long time ago, I believe in the 90s, when I had my first event with a concert. Okay, I went to the show. I didn't know of any of the bands until I went to that show. And that was the moment I was like, I kind of enjoy this. And my dad, being sort of a rock star, but he was a tech nerd too. He was working in tech, but he really loved his music. He really tried to get into music at one point, and my dad just didn't kind of cut the cake. So I'm here to do that myself. And at one point after the concert, he gave me a guitar. And I learned a little bit about playing the guitar, but I was never really that great at guitar. I always thought it was a little bit complex, but I'm not afraid of picking it up and just playing a song on it again, at least trying. And that's the thing about me is, if you hear any music from me, trust me, it's not going to be perfect. And I have had done music before, trust me, and I don't know where that is, but it's hidden away somewhere. If I find it, I'll post it up here. I'm not going to really try to listen to it, but I'm just showing you guys I did try to do music at one point. I'm back again to put my hand in it again and go further with it. But after that event of giving me that guitar, I was in school, and in between that time in my middle school era, I got into Linkin Park, Metallica, Sum 41, Good Charlotte. Good Charlotte was a main band that I really was into at the time, and they were one of my favorites. And then later on, I found Avenged Sevenfold. Avenged Sevenfold came along because my friends introduced me to them, and just hearing the guitars in that, just hearing the music played, it made me look at music differently at that point in time, especially the song. And Unholy Confessions really did it for me. The opening of Unholy Confessions is amazing. It could have been a song itself to open an album, and that's how great that piece of music is to me. And that made me and my friends want to pursue doing music. We were really inspired by them. they wanted me to do bass, and my one friend did guitar, the other one wanted to sing. We didn't have a drummer. We had another guitarist. She was a girl. It didn't work. We didn't get very far with it, but it was a blast. I actually played my first major song I learned to play alongside of anybody was Crazy Train, and I played it with my old friend who he himself was a very, very talented person with his guitar. And we tried for a few months, and then we let it all die off because it wasn't in anybody's hearts. And I myself, I march to a beat of a different drum. So if I'm doing music, it has to be a certain style of music. I can't get into, music, a certain type of music that everybody else wants, especially when I myself, I feel like I'd be better as a lead singer than I would a instrumentalist of some sort. Now, if I was to do it, I'd be playing the bass because I like the bass. But after that point in time, I stopped for a little while. And then years and years later, I go to see the friends again. We got back into some bands. My one friend, he was doing a band, and he called me to come hang out with them. And that was pretty cool. I didn't really get to see them perform live, but they tried. They actually had the drummer, the guitarist, the bassist, and their singer. And then I hung out with them a little bit. We kind of parted ways. And then again, I came back to talk with my friends again. This was an ongoing thing on and off the next few years. So I ran into all my old buddies again, and we're like literally late 20s, almost 30s, and I'm like late 30s right now. So that just goes to show you where I am. But I met with my one friend. I lived with him for a little bit. He was my best friend. He was like my brother. We never got into music, but we still really enjoyed the music scene, and we never went to concerts or anything, which I thought was strange. But he's like, "Oh, I don't want to go to concerts because all the young kids being." It's like, no, that's not true anymore. You go to a concert, you're gonna see everybody that's around our age still performing music, and you're gonna be inspired to do it again. And that's the thing, is you'll see why I said that. So going later on, I ran into my other friend. He tried to perform a band again. He asked me to do graphic design for him. I did that. It was it was just a bad time because there's just a lot of people like feeling like everybody was trying to do one thing or the other, and it just kind of just fell apart after a while. I did get the experience. I think I did graphic design for like that band, and I tried to do it for the original band that I was supposed to be a part of, which was going to be called Red Blade, and we never came about with it. So, but after that fell off, I kind of went into this really, really bad depressive slump after that because I'd lost family, I lost people close to me, and my friends were just drifting away. There was something going on in my life that made me lose focus who I was and focus of what I wanted. And I was mad at it because also some of the bands I was listening to were falling away and they were no longer in existence anymore. And then I ended up like moving. I ended up like, I want to say that point in time, I went back to Florida to spend time with, like, go hang out and live with my best friend at the time, who grew up with me and my father. That's one of the people who originally inspired us to do a band. And his mindset, he was going in the wrong path. And everybody loses their way at some point. Trust me. You will always end up, some people lose their way, and you will have to work on finding what you like again and who you are again. And that's just part of what my problem was, because the point after I went to live with him, I also was having trouble keeping myself together, liking what I'm liking. And the whole environment of the world around us was kind of oriented towards a whole type of music we weren't into. And then him being the person he was, he's like, "Oh, I'm too old to listen to this, blah, blah, blah. That doesn't even sound like music." I'm like, "What's going on with you, dude?" So I kind of drifted away from my music too, because for some reason I was being around that just wasn't helpful, and I drifted away from it because he was like, well, starving artist syndrome, blah blah blah, and I'm like, okay, whatever you say, and I kept going and going, and yeah, it was a wild ride. There's more to this story, but I'd have to take more. This video would have to be a lot longer. Needless to say, I took myself and just chose to give everything up. I found that reading the Bible had taught me not to hold on to the things that I had at the time, because you sacrifice in the name of Jesus Christ and you find peace that way. And so I took that literal. I left Florida, and I came out here, and I thought I was going to run into somebody, and I didn't run into anybody in San Antonio. So I was homeless for like a good almost a year, and then recently I'm back in a place of living, and I built Deathbat Nation when I was at a point in my life where I was re-inspired because I had found Avenged Sevenfold again. Avenged Sevenfold was what re-inspired me to get back into music. And then, on top of it, in between the time I lost sight of who I was and all that, I was still trying to listen to the band, still trying to enjoy the music. Because Good Charlotte, I enjoyed pieces of their music in between before I fell into the slump I was in until Avenged Sevenfold. And then I had trouble sticking with the music, and then once I found Avenged Sevenfold, I felt great again. I felt like myself was coming back, and I kept going at this for months, and then I saw a band I really liked on X, which was Stitched Apart. I started following Mixie, and I was like, she's pretty awesome. She was making me laugh because the one joke I remember from X that I heard of her, she was like talking about tattoos, and I was like, she's gorgeous. So I listened to what she had to say, and she's like, my tattoos are stickers. And I thought that was funny, and I showed that to a few people. I actually thought it was funny. She does some funny stuff. She's really cool. And then after that, I discovered her music, and I was like, hey, this actually sounds really good. And this was at the same time I'm still listening to Avenged Sevenfold. I go back time to time. There's tracks I absolutely love by them. I'll go back and listen to those. And in fact, I love Magic, by the way. Magic is a good track. If you diss that track, I don't know what to tell you. I like it. So it is, and then after going, I was like, I'm going to go see her in concert whenever she tours. And I did. I saw her in concert. I saw her and a few other bands that I heard of, and the other one I didn't know existed until recently. And man, oh man, it blew me all away. And at that point in time, I was like, I'm feeling inspired again. I'm feeling like myself again. I'm feeling like I really enjoy music again. And it gave me the self-confidence after going to that show to want to do what they're doing, kind of. And that's kind of why I've been uploading. Even if people are insulting me and telling me their ears bleed, which I know that person is just giving me a hard time. But I'm going to keep doing it. You know why? Because not everybody's going to like what you do, but there's going to be a bunch of people that also like what you do. Just remember that. And the people that inspire you the most are going to be the ones that like you the most. And that's what it's all about, is the people inspiring you, and you'll go further that way. But yeah, this led me back into music, and it was like, if you haven't noticed, that's kind of why I've been doing those shorts lately. I do like to listen to music, and I do like to try to do covers of the song to myself, and I try my best to sound like that, even though, I'm a guy singing a song that's sung by a girl, but there's nothing wrong with that, especially if you alter the lyrics a little bit. But the point I'm trying to make is right now is, I'm thriving and I'm not thriving. I'm trying, but I'm not trying. I'm trying, but I'm not going to give up this time. I feel like I'm just inspired by the whole music scene, the metal music industry, the bands I listen to. I look at it like this. Metal is a very diverse thing in examples of the way the music played, the way the singers sound. And you listen to some bands and the singers aren't that great, but you enjoy what they do. Like Megadeth, I listen to them a lot. Avenged Sevenfold, I listen to them. I love Mixie's voice, but there's people out there that probably don't feel the same I do, and that's fine. But Mixie's voice is beautiful to me. Uh, Alexia Rodriguez, her voice is beautiful. It's all about what you like and the sound that you want to hear. That's what music's supposed to be about. It's not supposed to be about what everybody else likes. That's why when I listen to certain types of music in pop, I'm very picky about that. I do love some pop bands, but I don't listen to all their tracks. I just like certain ones they do. And I'm gonna say this: as for rap, I can't get into it anymore, unless it's done in a metal, kind of a metal-y tone, which is why I like Lilac. I think they're pretty good. I just discovered them, and this also led me into discovering other bands that exist. I would have never discovered Bachelor's Grove if it wasn't for YouTube showing it to me, and then me finding out about it and then showing it to somebody else. I'm like, this is pretty wicked. So with that said, ladies and gentlemen, that's where I'm at right now. That's why this channel is kind of changing. That's why I'm in a different mood lately. And where I'm gonna go from here, I don't know. Been doing a lot of art and stuff like that, and if I end up if this channel ends up turning into a full music channel, trust me, that was God leading me to that. And Deathbat Nation was a part of that deciding factor earlier on. I love gaming still, but gaming just isn't my place like I thought it was. It's music, I feel like, is more in my place than what I realized, And you go through life not realizing what it is you're supposed to be doing or your calling until you get to a point where you start to see everything glow and just get, it's just really hard to explain. You start to feel good and people start appreciating what you do and you start to see yourself blossom and bloom. And just when you start to feel good doing that, that's the sign that's what you're supposed to be doing. Yeah, you're going to have your rough patches and all that, but it's just incredible. And right now, I have so many people recognizing my work and what I'm doing, even if people think I'm goofing off or it's stupid, I'm still going to do it because there's people that are in the space that are inspiring me to do so and kind of directing me. And that's what God's doing for me. God's working through them to lead me into what it is I want to do. So that's it for me, guys. I hope you enjoyed this, and I hope I really inspired people to do, things for themselves. You find that hobby, just throw it out there, man, because you won't know until you take that chance. And me singing might not sound like the best thing ever, but it's still worth giving a shot. And trust me, I've seen some things happen singing songs so far that I'm like, whoa, what? So, and that's it, guys. So, hopefully I inspired you. Hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll be seeing you next time. Take it easy, and God bless you, and rock on, fellow Deathbats, Lady Deathbats, fellow gamers, and lady gamers. Take it easy, and I'll be seeing you next time.